words are my art. Sometimes I do that in speaking, and sometimes in writing. At an event like this, it's not easy to figure out what you're going to do. In fact, I've been waffling for weeks. I knew the puppet guys were coming and I could never compare to them. So I've been waffling for weeks. But at the end of the day, I decided to do the one thing I really do the best. And that is talking. Yeah, that's also how I pick up all the men at the bar. So, like, what do you like to do? I love talking. It's my favorite. Yeah, it works every time. Tonight, though, and I know this is a little unusual for this kind of venue, so I really appreciate your attention. Tonight, I really wanted to talk about something that's relevant to all of us in the room as artists and creators. And that is, how can you be honest and vulnerable in your art? And why should you be? How can you be honest and vulnerable in your art? And why should you be? I actually started thinking about this topic a few months ago, 9:32 p.m. on a Wednesday night in June to be exact. I'm sitting at a dirty Starbucks, Upper West Side, anxiously tapping my fingers on the table. I'm staring at a blog post I've just written about all of the sex I am not having. Lots and lots of sex not being had. An entire frat house worth of sex not being had by me. And that is because I am, don't yeah that. That is not worth celebrating. I am not celebrating that. The fact is, I am unintentionally celibate.
Yeah.
No? Do we have a priest in here? What is going on? A bunch of nuns? That's not something to celebrate. I am unintentionally celibate. That's also the name of my book and my blog, shameless plug. And my life. So I'm sitting there and I'm anxious because I'm having the same dilemma I always have. I'm about to air my dirty laundry on the World Wide Web, and I can't stop thinking, do I want to be this open? What are the repercussions of being honest in your art? Are my parents going to see this and be disappointed in me? If strangers read my blog, are they going to think I'm some sort of socially awkward weirdo? Which maybe I am. But I don't want them to think that. If potential boyfriend candidates read this blog, is my vagina going to remain permanently closed for business? Stop wooing that! It's not a good thing! This is not like an abstinence-only middle school campaign. Stop wooing that. So, these are real-life dilemmas. How many of you here as artists and creators have ever had this dilemma? This fear of being judged by your peers?
Yeah.
And for wooing about your fear of being judged. I really appreciate your enthusiasm about your fear. It is really scary and difficult to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Creating art and sharing it makes you vulnerable. And that is because we pour everything into our art. It takes a lot of courage to come up here on stage. If you're not a performer, you have no idea how much courage it takes. We pour everything into our art, our hearts, our souls, our mind. Our art, and whether that is your music or your puppeteering or your comedy, our art is a reflection of who we are. It's a reflection of us, and we know that putting ourselves out there, coming up on this stage, means we're going to be judged, right?
Yeah.
And that's not easy. It's not easy. Read the YouTube comments. 13 And if I am being perfectly honest with you and with myself, I'm really afraid that if people know the real me, flaws and all, that if I let people see the times when I felt scared or lonely, or if I let people see the times when I created something that wasn't brilliant or amazing, and that is going to happen, that they're going to think less of me and my art.
Truth.
That they're going to think I'm not talented enough. That they are going to casually, nonchalantly suggest I find a more realistic pursuit. Yeah, it's sad. Everybody in this room, I'm sure, can relate to that. But the problem is, when we are afraid, we start creating things that are safe. Or even worse, we are so paralyzed by our fear that we don't create anything at all. We stop performing. We write novels that no one will ever read. We only tell our jokes to total strangers we never have to see again. We compose music that dies in our basement. I almost fell into this trap. But I'm extremely lucky because I have a brilliant editor and dear, dear friend, Nathan Wall, who told me denial doesn't work in art.
Yeah.
Speak your truth, even if the truth makes you look bad or hurts you. I needed to hear that because I want to create, like all of you, I want to create. And if I spend so much time worrying about what everybody thinks of me, and if I spend an exhausting amount of energy trying to impress everybody in this room and the world in general, I'm never going to create anything.
Do it. Yeah.
I'm not. And here's the point. So if you haven't been paying attention up to this point, if you have been checking your Tinder, I see you in the back over there. I see you. If you see someone who's single, like celibate girls, send them my way. Probably no one, but maybe. Here's the point. Being honest and vulnerable in your art empowers others. Simple, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Being honest and vulnerable empowers others. How? Events like tonight. When we as artists have the courage to say, here I am, flaws and all. When we as artists have the courage to show up on good days and bad days, we are giving other people the courage to show up on good days and bad days.
Yeah.
We are saying to them, look, I'm not perfect either. So I accept you for you, because the important thing is that you showed up at all.
Dude, fuck yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, I would be a total hypocrite if I stood here in front of you talking about how you should speak your truth and be vulnerable without actually doing it. So here's the fun part of the talk. Fun for you, really not fun for me.
Tell us!
What is my truth?
What is your truth? What is it? What is it?
My real name is Becky.
Oh.
And I get most of my news from Facebook. I haven't had sex in so long, I'm not sure I remember how to do it. No, but I am genuinely afraid that I've forgotten how to do it, and that insecurity ruined my last relationship. I'm a compulsive overeater and a former member of Overeaters Anonymous, which means I will never be the girl who eats just one cookie. Sometimes, a lot of times, almost every day, I wear granny panties. Possible correlation to my sex life, extremely plausible. I am neurotic, compulsive, and chronically late. Some mornings I wake up and I am terrified that I'm not going to make it through the day. Some mornings, I am terrified that I will never be anything but mediocre or average. These things don't make me look good. I'm not going to lie and say it's easy to stand in front of you and say these things. It isn't. But it's true.
Yeah.
And if only one person in this room heard something I said and feels a little less weird or alone, then it was worth it.
Fuck yeah!
And isn't that the most beautiful thing about art? How inclusive it can be. Thank you. And the truth doesn't always make us look bad. Sometimes it makes us look good. Sometimes that is equally as hard to say. We don't want to seem like we're bragging or we're arrogant, right? So my truth is also that I've circumnavigated the globe and I speak fluent Portuguese. I've been a big brother, big sister mentor to the same little sister for over 10 years. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. I write handwritten letters to my friends because I think it's so important to remind people that they are loved and special and remembered when the granny panties come off. I feel sexy naked. I do, I feel so sexy naked. More importantly, I am a thoughtful and generous friend.
Hell yeah!
I am smart, loving, and funny. Some mornings, I wake up and I feel 100% certain that I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
That I am going to be someone. Yeah, I do, and it is an incredible feeling. All of that is the truth, too. We are all going to make it. Some of these things do make me look good. Some of these things seemingly contradict the things that make me look bad. But that is because people are complex, and so am I. So back to my blog post about all of the sex I am not having. You remember I'm sitting in Starbucks, anxiously tapping on my fingers on the table, waffling about whether or not I'm going to post this stupid, dumb blog post. I don't know. What are people going to think of me? I'm really, really nervous. And then I press enter. I make my private life very, very public. Because I know when we can stand naked in front of an audience and say, here I am, flaws and all, take me or leave me, I realize that the people who love us will accept us. And in return, and this is the greatest gift you can give anyone, you can say, I accept you too.
Hell yeah!
Flaws and all, exactly as you are, because I love you. Unconditionally, thank you. You have nothing to prove or fear. And then maybe, just maybe, we can all stop pretending and start creating some really fucking beautiful art.
Yeah.